Hey, Grace Union Church, this is Pastor Bob here. I've got some very exciting news for you. We have missed you, and we're excited to announce that Sunday, June the 7th, we will return to in-person services. We're so grateful for the opportunity technology has provided us to connect still during this season, but we're excited to come back together now as well. I do want to mention that for all of you who want to continue to watch online, our online presence will continue. We're going to continue to put a heavy effort on our live streams, and so if you're not comfortable returning yet, we want to let you know that is perfectly okay, and we understand that completely. And so some will choose to continue to worship and gather with us online, and some will return to an in-person gathering, but that begins on June the 7th. And so I want to let you know that there's a lot of extra cleaning and things that go into making this as safe as possible. And so we're disinfecting surfaces, we're putting hand sanitizing stations everywhere. But the biggest thing that's going to help us is how you behave while you're here. And so we're asking you to help us by maintaining social distancing while you're here. Stay in household groups. You got to really watch your children and kind of keep them together and keep that social distance from each other. The big thing is we're going to ask you to suspend physical contact for this first season as we come back together. I know that many of you may want to ask, are you comfortable with a hug or a handshake? But please, let's not even do that. Let's just assume that nobody is for now. And we're going to suspend hugs and kisses and high fives and low fives and all of that. And for a season, what we're going to practice is warm waves. And so as we pass each other, as we're interacting at a social distance, we're going to ask you to share a warm wave. And so one of the things that we're doing is that to decrease our capacity, we've had to add service times. And so our service times are different during this season. We will meet Sunday at 9 and 11 a.m. And so the way we've broken up these services is basically the 9 a.m. service is for people who want a mask required. So at Sunday, 9 a.m. is a mask required service, and so if you're there, you can know that everyone will have a mask on. There will be some limits to that. People who are on stage doing things may not be able to pull that off, but for everyone else, we'll have masks on, we'll be socially distanced, we'll be sanitizing, and then the 11 a.m. service is masks recommended. And so we have two choices for you if you're returning in person. We have masks required at 9 a.m. and masked recommended at 11 a.m. And so we ask you to just help us with that. I know that some really love that idea and some may have struggles with it, and I'm going to ask you to suspend your personal feelings and prefer each other. Our efforts here are to make others feel comfortable and feel loved and feel valued. And so help us with that. 9 a.m. masks required, 11 a.m. masks recommended. And so we're going to ask you to show up 20 minutes early for service and then to not linger in the building once service ends. We've got a lot of cleaning that we have to do to continue to flip services and keep things disinfected. And so we're going to ask you to come in, find your seats, and then as soon as service ends, make your way out so that we can get to work cleaning for the next service. To let you know what to expect, we have a phased re-entry plan. We're only going to discuss phase 1 today, but phase 1 includes our Sunday worship gathering. And so we are not able to offer kids or nursery or youth at this time. It will be our Sunday worship gathering. We won't be able to offer small groups or anything else. Any of that that's going on Zoom for now will continue on Zoom. And so we're so excited to gather with you. Now I'm going to help explain some of our seating options. Okay, so here we are in our main auditorium, and as you can probably see, we've got ropes set up closing off every other row, and this is to help us maintain social distancing here in the auditorium. So as you come in, what will happen is we'll have greeters who will find out the number of people in your group, in your household, and will point you to rows that can accommodate that. And so here's what we're asking. I know we're all excited to come back together and even reclaim our old spot, but we're gonna need help from you. We're gonna need you to choose your seats based on how many people are with you so that we can utilize as much of our seating capacity as possible. And so every row that has a red rope is closed off for social distancing. And the way that it works is that within a row, you can have people sitting together as long as they're from the same
household. Anybody from another household will need 3 seats of space in between households. So obviously on these shorter rows, we're gonna need smaller households of 3 and 4 and 5 people. As we get to the larger ones, there can be 2 households in a row, but we'll need, again, 3 seats of spacing. And while we're in here, I also want to explain that between the 2 services, we're going to have some pretty extensive cleaning and disinfecting going on. And so once the first service begins, we'll have a team that begins to disinfect the foyer, the restrooms, and all of those common touch places out there. And then once the first service ends, that team will come in here and will then disinfect everything in here. And so as you leave service, we're gonna need you to not linger in the foyers and then retouch all of those surfaces we just cleaned. And so as you leave following your service, we're gonna need you to take conversations and things like that outside to the parking lot, and that would help us so much. And so we're doing our best to clean. We'll have hand sanitizer available all over the place. We'll be wiping down surfaces and keeping them germ-free for you, but we can't wait to gather with you in here. Now we're gonna show you some of our solutions for our kids. So while we won't be able to provide nursery or kids church just due to social distancing and mixing of households, we do want to provide some options for parents with kids. And so here's the plan. First and foremost, each Sunday, we will worship all together in song. And then once the message starts, we're providing online content for a kids service experience. And so we're going to invite parents to bring cell phones or tablets and headphones for all the kids that they want to be able to participate in that. And so we'll sing together, everybody will be seated, and when we go into our normal message for the next 30 minutes, the kids will have their own content that they'll watch on screens with headphones. So we want to invite parents for all that, to bring that along. But maybe you have small kids and you're worried about kids crying, you're worried about your kids getting restless, and you don't want to disturb people. So we've come in here to show you the space that we've prepared in our youth worship room. And so this will be our overflow room / room for parents who have kids that need to move around, make some noise, all that good stuff. And so if that's you and you just feel like, oh, my kids might misbehave, they might, listen, we don't mind noise. We know kids are going to be with us and it's going to be great. We celebrate all of those young families. But if it bothers you, if you're nervous that your kid might disturb service or disturb other people, you're welcome to come into this space where we'll have socially distanced some couches and some chairs and some different places, and you'll be able to watch the service on the screens from this room and still gather with people in here as well. And so we want to do our best to provide opportunity for everyone to have connection, encouragement, and hope, and to be a part of Grace Union Church together during this season as we kind of come back into one body. And so one last thought as we close this out, and it's this: as we come together, we know there's all kinds of different thoughts, all kinds of different opinions, and all kinds of different levels of comfort with public and with everything else. And so what we want to encourage you guys to do is to love one another well. Scripture tells us to prefer each other above ourselves. And so I want to ask you to consider, as we come together, what does it look like for me to put my opinions, my thoughts, and all of that aside in a way that loves my neighbor well, and that values their feelings and their health and their comfort level. And so those of you who are comfortable, who want to come back, we want to gather with you and celebrate, and we want it to be a great time together. So we encourage you, however it is you feel about this stuff, that our goal together is that we would love each other well, and that we would make this a time of love and of celebration together as a church family. We can't wait to see you, can't wait to celebrate with you beginning on June 7th at 9 and 11.